Irish guy, and so right. It's all the rage these days for football clubs to just lazily appoint managers who used to play for them. I mean, it's why Frank Lampard is at Chelsea. It's why Mikel Arteta is at Arsenal. I mean, the Gunners turned down Carlo Ancelotti for him. Even Man City, they tried to buy Pep Guardiola in 2005 when they were poor. I mean, can you imagine him in the same dressing room as Micah Richards and Joey Barton? It would be like putting Mark Zuckerberg into the same school group project as two homeless guys who like to shove spoons up their nose. But lad, who has got the strongest roster of ex-players waiting to step in as manager? If every current Premier League manager decided to quit in the morning and rules were brought in where you now had to appoint someone who represented you as a player, then who would you appoint? Who is your Frank Lampard? The rules are that they have to represent your club as a player within the last 30 years. And they can't have already managed your club. So honestly, let's just see under these rules how messed up your club would actually be. Oh, by the way, before we get into this video, just hit that subscribe button if you're new. Hit that like button too. Let's grow this channel. Let's topple Rory Jennings. Oh, what a weird thing to say. Right, let's go. Arsenal, Patrick Vieira. Imagine if Mikel Arteta walked out on you in the morning. Again, I can't even begin to imagine the Arsenal meltdown. I mean, it's funny. 18 months ago, the fans spoke about him as if he's a giant dog poo stuffed in the microwave. They couldn't get rid of him quick enough. But lads, under these rules, if Arteta walked and Arsenal had to salvage their season by going the ex-player route, then asked me this question a year ago, and I just said Gio van Bronckhorst. But I mean, after being sacked in Scotland, his reputation is now swimming in toilet water. I'll go with Vieira. I know he was binned off by Crystal Palace in favour of someone who probably sleeps in a coffin. Honestly, Roy Hodgins is only about 3 years away from wearing nappies on the bus. But Vieira is still a trendy ball-playing coach who was educated at Manchester City, don't forget. If you gave him this current Arsenal dressing room, I mean, the man has got enough respect with the fans. He's got enough inbuilt knowledge of the game, and actually has half-decent tactics that I reckon you could do a lot worse. Aston Villa, Rob Edwards. Let's be real. Aston Villa fans would sooner want their wife to leave them in the morning than Unai Emery. Right now, those fans would gladly lick cat food off his stomach if it convinced him to stay. But this video is all about damage limitation. So if Emery were to go and you had to pick ex-Aston Villa, then I'm picking Rob Edwards. You know, the former manager of Telford United, the guy who recently managed England under-16s, a guy who this very season was sacked after just 3 months at Watford. Villa fans are probably getting sick in their lap, but Edwards was an average centre-back who never really made it at Aston Villa. But as a manager, he replaced Nathan Jones at Luton Town in November, and I'm sorry, they're third in the championship. This guy could realistically take little old Luton into the Premier League, and if he does that, then this 40-year-old newbie has just put himself on the map. It's not perfect, it's still a huge downgrade for Emery, but with a youthful, hungry, tactical baby like Edwards at the wheel, you'd probably finish 9th in the league. Oh, by the way, yes, he's a better choice than Southgate. Does anyone think Gareth Southgate would get Luton into the Premier League? No, you'd sooner see a cat fly to the moon. Bournemouth, John O'Shea. This is where things get ugly. Yes, obviously the obvious choice is Eddie Howe, but under these rules, you're not allowed to have him because he's already managed you. You have to go with someone new, okay? And oh boy, the options are hideously grim. I know a disappointment. I'm dooming you for relegation. But John O'Shea played 10 games at Bournemouth on loan 23 years ago. He's since become a coach for Reading, Republic of Ireland under-21s, Stoke City, and the Senior Ireland team. I can only imagine that after all those coaching jobs, and you know, nearly 15 years of listening to Sir Alex Ferguson, maybe do a decent Bournemouth job? I mean, he's got more experience than Gary O'Neill. Holy Kenny, he's never given a team talk in his life. Trying to get O'Shea to motivate a Premier League dressing room. Probably like trying to get a pony to dance. I'm sorry, Bournemouth, I know it's a brutal pick, but who else is there? Brentford, John Massinho. Brentford, practically nobody who's gone on to be a good manager. The best option is John Massinho, who is 36 years old. Listen, Massinho has done nothing in management. I mean, he only took the Portsmouth job in January, but he's got a 50% win record. And I mean, if you look at his name and swap the H for an S, the N for an E, and the S for an R, and what name do you get? You know what you get. You all know who that is. Honestly, lads, Massinho is the next big lower league coach just for his name alone. Brighton, Nathan Jones. I hate this. I hate that I'm having to inflict Nathan Jones on Brighton. You don't deserve this. They don't want him. Nobody wants him. But I mean, there's nobody else. This fella has about as much Premier League knowledge as the gingerbread man of Shrek. But I mean, he was Brighton's left back for 5 years in League One, so he does qualify for the list. And make no mistake about it, he would destroy all of De Zerbi's good work. He'd just bumble his way through the job. The players would have no faith in him. And I actually think under Jones, they'd finish 18th in the league, but I promise you, he's probably still the best ex-Brighton player who's now a manager. How sad is that? I suppose there is a Liam Rosenior at Hull, but massive meh? I mean, what do you reckon, Brighton fans? Jones or a senior? I know, it'd be like being offered the choice of which grandmother to get breastfed by for lunch. Chelsea Didier Deschamps. Throughout this entire list, haven't Chelsea won the management lottery? Sure, right now they got Lampard in the dugout. But if he was to leave in the morning, I'm not having to bend over backwards to justify why Chelsea should give the job to Damien Duff. You know, the Shelburne boss. Coaching at such a lower level, he probably has to eat his lunch on the toilet seat. No, I'm not giving the gig to Scott Parker, Eidiger Johnson, Hernan Crespo, or whatever coaching chicken nuggets there are bouncing from job to job. No, I'm picking Didier Deschamps. You know, a world champion with France. He briefly played one season in midfield at Stamford Bridge, has gone on to manage Monaco, Juventus, Marseille in club football, and as Chelsea manager, I think he would have the aura to succeed. This guy would be a big fat upgrade on Lampard. Deschamps would probably get this Chelsea squad to finish second in the league. Crystal Palace, Gareth Southgate. So in this scenario, Crystal Palace would be going from Roy Hodgson to Gareth Southgate. Ask England fans if they think this is an upgrade. You know what though? I'm actually going to say in the Premier League, it's not. Southgate is clearly the best ex-Palace player working as a coach, but I think Hodgson is far more suited for league football than Southgate. I mean, I know he's painfully old, but the guy's got ridiculous experience. Southgate got relegated with Middlesbrough 13 years ago. Hasn't managed in the Premier League since. I think on a day-to-day basis, having to flex his tactical brain every single week, as opposed to what, 7 times a year? I actually think he'd probably take this Palace squad down. Everton, Mikel Arteta. Oh, Mikel Arteta, why did you have to be so good at management? Arteta is the obvious choice here, although imagine giving him the Everton job for next season. It would be like asking Hollywood royalty like Tom Hanks to go and wipe a donkey's bum. But still, through gritted teeth, Arteta would squeak Everton into 15th maybe? I mean, lads, he's not a magician. We saw how he initially struggled with the Arsenal squad. It would still be pretty dark days at Goodison. Fulham, Vincenzo Montella. Okay, under these rules, Scott Parker would not be allowed back in the building for Fulham. So, I don't know, Vincenzo Montella? He was a Roma goal machine centre forward who spent 10 games on loan at Fulham in 2007. When he was an old man who probably stunk of mouldy cheese. Anyway, he's the current boss of Adana Demirspor, some mid-table team in Turkey. I mean, he's had a hard paper round as a manager, being sacked by the likes of AC Milan, Sevilla, and Fiorentina twice. He is a flop of a coach who's probably about as motivational as a slice of chocolate pie smeared on a shoe. And let's be real, if Montella was Fulham coach next season, they'd probably get relegated. But I mean, who else am I gonna pick? Leeds, Patrick Kisnorbo. Yeah, this one comes from nowhere, right? And I'm not even enthused by this one. I was tempted to pick Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, who has been a manager for 10 years, and he's also part of the England coaching staff. But I mean, Southgate also picked him out of Burton Albion's bin. If he got the job on Ellen Road in the morning, I'm sure there'd be panic Leeds fans who'd be terrified to leave the house. I'm going for Patrick Kisnorbo. I know what you're thinking. Who? Well, he's a former Australian defender who spent 4 years at Leeds and has since coached Melbourne City Youth, Melbourne City Women, Melbourne City Men, and actually up to win the first A-League title in his debut season. He was a roaring Melbourne success, and now he coaches Troyes in League One. I mean, they're gonna get relegated, but still, League One. He manages against PSG. He is the first Australian manager in a top 5 European men's league. Yes, to you, he might be about as relevant as a coffee stain on your sock, but I genuinely believe, give him this lead squad and he would just about squeak survival. Right? Leicester, Roberto Mancini. Now, Leicester City have won the lottery. This is not even a conversation. Right now, Leicester have Dean Smith in charge. A Norwich City failure. Who really looks like he should be fixing toilets and living in a caravan. Roberto Mancini, on the other hand, played 4 games on loan, but is a superstar European coach. A success at Lazio, Inter Milan, Man City, won Italy Euro 2020. I'm not sure why Leicester have never tried to appoint this guy. Even now, surely he's got enough free time on his hands to step in as caretaker boss until May. I mean, it's gotta be a better option than a Norwich City bin bag. Honestly, Man City and Leicester, he would haul Leicester back into the top half. His tactics are just that good. Liverpool, Xabi Alonso. A year ago, I am convinced that every Liverpool fan would have nominated Steven Gerrard. Yeah, then he goes and fails at Aston Villa. Now, I mean, he's a bit like that girl at the disco. You wanted to dance with her at the start of the night, but I mean, when she comes back from the bathroom with chunks of poo in her hair, yeah, maybe give her a wide berth now. What am I talking about? I've never been to a disco in my life. My first kiss was with my dog. But lads, Xabi Alonso is taking this management thing seriously. This guy who rejected Borussia Mönchengladbach in the Bundesliga to instead spend a full 3 years coaching Real Sociedad B. He also rejected the chance to become Carlo Ancelotti's assistant. I mean, yeah, considering Paul Clement spent years living in the Italian's pocket and then crumbled like a chocolate teddy bear in management, probably wise decision, Xabi. But Alonso has since gone to Bayer Leverkusen, has dragged them out of a relegation battle, and now has them fighting for the Champions League spots. They've won 11 out of the last 15 league games. I mean, they're just one tie with Brighton's feeder club away from a Europa League semi-final. Alonso is the next management superstar. I mean, forget this stupid video. Once Klopp actually leaves, Liverpool have to appoint Alonso. He is going to be an absolute star. He might win you a Premier League. I mean, weirdly, he was childhood best friends with Mikel Arteta, but I mean, forget friendship. These two are going to be the next big management rivalry. They're going to be like Magneto versus the ball lad in the wheelchair. That might have been the most nerdiest reference I've ever made. Man City, Vincent Kompany. Easiest choice in the list. Don't get me wrong, a year ago I'd have chosen Patrick Vieira, but his stock is sort of drowned in a bowl of fat, and Vincent Kompany has emerged into the next monster coach. A success at Anderlecht, he then turned up at Burnley and got them to play pretty football and win the championship. The guy plays Guardiola ball, he's an incredibly intelligent tactician, and honestly, he's only 37 years old and yet still top of Tottenham's summer list. But if Man City were looking for a manager in the morning, then bringing in Kompany, somebody who's already a legend in the dressing room, he would get them to win the league. Man United with Van Nistelrooy. Every year this answer changes. 3 years ago, Manchester United fans had appointed Wayne Rooney. Last year, the answer would be Michael Carrick. But can we relax? If Manchester United need an ex-player to step in tomorrow, then there is a better option than Carrick. Ruud van Nistelrooy, who actually began coaching as assistant manager with Holland in 2014. He spent 3 years honing his craft as manager of PSV under 19s, then another 3 years back in the Holland setup, then 1 year managing the PSV reserves, and now he's got PSV third in the Eredivisie. They've already beaten Arsenal this season and almost pulled off a mega comeback from 3 goals down against Sevilla in the Europa League. As a player, Van Nistelrooy looked way too selfish to ever be a coach. If you told me back in 2007 that Van Nistelrooy would wind up being a sought-after European boss, someone like John Terry would just be a backroom coach at Leicester, just making the tea and cookies for Dean Smith, then I'd look at you as if you had 7 heads. But if Manchester United need a manager right now, some of you will say Carrick. A lot of you still pine for Rooney, even though he's now MLS sludge. RVN is the man, and if he were to take the Man United job now, I reckon under this format, he would sneak the club back into the top 4, but just. Although honestly lads, people say that Marcus Rashford's finishing has been improved by the arrival of Benny McCarthy as a coach. You know, the former Blackburn striker? Imagine if Van Nistelrooy walked through that door too. Rashford, he'd be challenging for the Golden Boot. He'd probably even get Wout Weghorst scoring goals. Newcastle, John Dale Thomason. Lads, this is the cleverest pick in the list. Well done me! I asked this very question on Twitter, and the Newcastle fans were also disheartened, thinking they'd have to pick from Sol Campbell, Scott Parker, Joey Barton, or Lee Bowyer. No. Everyone forgets the former legendary AC Milan and Denmark centre forward, John Dale Thomason, actually spent 1 season flopping up front for Newcastle in 1997, and right now he's got Blackburn Rovers challenging for promotion. To be fair, I mean, that team is so inconsistent. That's a team who've won 3 games in a row, then lost 3 games in a row. They've won 4 games in a row twice, but they've also drawn 4 games in a row. Blackburn are so incredibly up and down, so I'm not calling Thomason a messiah. And if he were a Newcastle coach, he'd probably have the squad about 11th in the league, as he is no Eddie Howe. But I mean, he's the best of a bad bunch. Nottingham Forest, Roy Keane. Who else? Who else am I going to pick? But don't look at me like this. Roy Keane played over 100 times for Nottingham Forest. And I mean, he hasn't actually managed since getting sacked with Ipswich in 2011. Can you imagine him in charge of this Forest squad? You really think he's going to tolerate Jesse Lingard? By the 3rd day of training, you probably have to mop Jay Ling's blood off the bathroom walls. Make no mistake about it. Forest would crash and burn. They'd finish about 19th in the league. Keane would make everybody cry. But I mean, who else is there to choose? Southampton, Graham Potter. Yeah. I bet you didn't think I'd be recommending Graham Potter to anyone in this list. But lads, there's slim pickings for Southampton. And I mean, he was recently in charge of Chelsea. Offer Potter to the Saints and they would snap your hand off your arm. But would he keep them in the league? You know what? There is some talented youth players in this Southampton squad. I don't rate Potter, but he is better than the tactical Shrek that was Nathan Jones. And so yeah, if Ralph Hasenhüttl could keep Southampton up for years, then yeah, Potter would probably scrape 16th. Talking to Michael Carrick. Yeah, go on then. Michael Carrick can squeeze his way into the list. Look, he is doing well as Middlesbrough boss, taking them from relegation battle into a promotion challenge. But can we settle down? Roy Keane did that in his first season as manager of Sunderland. But I mean, did he ever go on to manage Man United? No, the board would sooner burn off their ears. So I'm not saying Carrick is the next great thing, but it's still slim pickings for ex-Tottenham players. Considering he's young, fresh, confident, I reckon as Tottenham coach he'd be pretty popular with the players actually, and would probably help them to finish 5th or 6th. West Ham, Lionel Scaloni. I take it back. West Ham have won the management lottery. Lionel Scaloni, a former Argentine right back who spent 13 games alone at West Ham in 2006. Yeah, he's the guy who just managed his country to World Cup glory over Christmas. So you're damn right I'm choosing him over Scott Parker. Here's the issue though. I don't know how good his English is. He's never actually managed outside of international football, so this probably wouldn't work. I mean, he would keep West Ham in the league, but honestly, they'd only finish about 14th. Wolves, Paul Ince. There's nobody else! Anyway, that's the video. What did we learn from that? I think what we learned is there's not actually that many ex-Premier League players who are actually good managers. Bit weird that, but there we go. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give a like, subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.